Konnichiwa. Welcome into yet another edition of the Baseline Jumper podcast. Me llamo Jason Goldstein, and on the line with me right now is a man who, when we started our Zoom call, was taking his Spanish lesson. So, Ben, ¿cómo está?
Estoy bien y watashi wa ben. Little mix up of languages there.
Wow,
okay, yeah,
wow.
I know, yeah.
Wow. Forget Pitbull. Baseline Jumper is the new Mr. Worldwide.
Yeah, that's it. And you know what, Jason? It's becoming a worldwide thing right now with everything that's going on in the sports world. We've got athletes coming from all around the world to come back to the United States. And we have, it's things are really happening now. We've now passed the day of reporting. Athletes for the NBA are coming back to the States. Everyone's supposed to have reported as of 2 days ago. And now we're getting into the nitty gritty, Jason. I mean, how are you feeling about the NBA season getting closer and closer and closer?
Well, I think after last week's show, which came in a little hot, this one's going to be a bit more laid back. But just to build off the hot topic from last week with the whole Kyrie Irving situation and the Players Coalition, I think it's fair to say that you and I both want basketball back. But with all these things that keep coming out in the news, it has me questioning whether or not it's safe to play. Is it the right thing to do? I mean, players were supposed to report, so majority of the players on the 22 teams that are going to the bubble in Orlando have reported. They're all at the practice facilities, minus a few. But then it came out today that one of the stars of the league and on the third seeded Denver Nuggets, Nikola Jokic, the Joker, one of Ben's buddies, tested positive for the coronavirus. So first off, our thoughts are with him. We hope he recovers quickly. We hope he's asymptomatic even. But, I was reading before the show that it may take a week just for him to get medically cleared to fly back to the U.S. because he wasn't or he is in Serbia. So that leads me to wonder, are his teammates going to question playing? The Nuggets are right there. Head coach Mike Malone announced that he actually was positive for COVID-19 during the pandemic, during the quarantine. So it's just getting a little scary. One of the top players in the West, or in the league even, tested positive. And there's also reports, Ben, that Jokic has lost 40 pounds since the pandemic. So he's not going to be playing down low too much. I think he's going to be more of a stretch three-point shooter at this point in the season. We'll see if he bulks up for the start of next season. But, I mean, for you, does Jokic testing positive for the virus change your mind at all about the bubble coming back next month?
Well, first off, I have to go ahead and, I have to say it. I came out last week. I was a little opposed to Kyrie Irving. I think it's fair to say. I criticized particularly the messenger being Kyrie Irving on this, the fact that he's not going down there. And you know what, Jason? I think I owe you and Kyrie an apology because I think looking over this in the past week, it's clear that this is a big deal, and it's really important to look at this more closely before doing all this. It is something that needs to get looked at a little bit more under a microscope to understand kind of what the significance of this is, if it's really worth going back, and making sure everyone's comfortable. There's a big opportunity here to make a difference. So first and foremost, I'm going to just say it. You were right, Jason. There was a lot going on, and you were right, Kyrie, absolutely right, and he has a point. So yes, I mean ultimately yes. There's a lot of stuff going on, and with everything going on in the world and everything that's going on in terms of this illness, it's fair to question whether right now is the time to bring back basketball. And I think you said it perfectly in that we both want to see basketball played. We're both people who watch basketball, follow basketball very closely, and selfishly we do want it. But it's also something where we can't do it if it's unsafe. And the cases in Florida have been spiking. It's been record highs of cases. So, I mean, it is starting to get into the zone where, man, it feels weird. It feels weird with what's going on to be thinking about pro athletes going to play basketball. It feels like there's bigger things right now. And you said it perfectly last week, but I mean, I just don't know, Jason. I mean, are we taking away from what's going on by having basketball back?
So first off, I'm not going to gloat because this is not something I enjoy being right about. It's just where I stand. And it's a tough discussion to have, but I feel like all of us need to be having this conversation about racism and social injustice. But last week's show felt like it was more racism and social injustice based. Now I feel like we're back to square one with the coronavirus because you've seen phased reopenings. Outdoor dining is reopening, next week in New Jersey. I'm sorry, it opened already. Indoor dining will reopen next week in New Jersey at 25% capacity. So now with everything going on with the protests and people leaving their houses more and it being summertime, everyone's at the beach in Florida and Arizona and Texas. Everyone's partying. They just spent the last 3.5 months inside. I get that. Look, I want to get out too. But now I just feel like we're back to square one with the coronavirus. And I don't know what to really think. I mean, I want to see them play basketball, but with each news story that breaks, the odds seem to be stacking back up against the NBA. And I think it's too late now for Adam Silver to make the call to completely cancel it. I think it will be a welcome distraction because of the protocol, the fact that they're going to get into Orlando 2.5 weeks before the regular season games are supposed to restart. They have to quarantine in their rooms for 48 hours. They have to test negative for the virus once they get into Orlando. So there's just so much to unpack and so many different things that have to go right to even get a full team there. There's talk of teams not even flying into Orlando's airport. They may fly into West Palm or Tampa or, Fort Myers even and take a bus. So there's so much that needs to go right for this to happen. And when something's a struggle, right? When you're really trying hard to get something done and it becomes so tough that you almost feel like you don't want to do it anymore. I wonder if that's how these players are going to think, because they're going to be away from their families for so long. I know they've been with them this whole time during the quarantine, and that's one of the positives of it. But are you really, if you're on the Bucks or the Lakers and you're expected to be there 3 months, are you really going to look forward to not having your family there? There's just so much, and then you have to question, is it really worth it?
Yeah, I think there's a lot there. I mean, there's so much to get into that's, that's really tough for us to answer. We're not epidemiologists and we don't know, but there's things about, family being able to come visit while the players are there. What's going to happen with the Disney employees? I mean, that's been a big thing now. Is it with all these cases breaking out? Is it safe for the Disney employees to be coming in and out as freely as they had planned to? So there's a lot going on and there's a lot to unpack as far as that goes. And I think that's making it really tricky and making the reality of playing sports in COVID, and particularly playing sports in COVID in the United States, because, the response has not been ideal here. I think that's fair to say. It hasn't been handled as well as it could have been. Around the world, the U.S. has just not done a great job in terms of handling the crisis, and that has cascaded down to sports leagues, and it's affecting the athletes as it's affecting everyone. And ultimately, that's going to be a big piece here, is to now understand what can be done. But I will say that I think there's going to be something interesting to come out of this, in that it seems like this is happening. I mean, like you said, I don't think we're going to cancel it. So I think with that in mind, and assuming that it does happen, whoever is the champion of this season, it's going to be pretty interesting, because they're going to have a legacy as this team that kind of not only conquered 29 other NBA teams, but who conquered the coronavirus to win a championship. And
I thought you were going to go the other way and say there should be an asterisk, and I was about to argue against that, because there's been worse.
I think it's going to be pretty interesting. Like, imagine the Clippers if they win their first ever title while there's a quarantine. That would be an amazing thing. Imagine if the Lakers win and it's the Kobe Memorial Championship that happens in the coronavirus. I mean, what a story that would be. I mean, that would be unforgettable. You look at the Bucks, their first title in almost 50 years. Giannis getting his first one in the coronavirus. I mean, there's so many storylines that are coming out of this. And I guess the thing that I really worry about when you talk about, that asterisk idea is, will the quality of play be affected?
The quality of play will be affected whether or not, if every healthy player in the NBA was down there and suited up, the quality of play is going to be affected. I mean, there has been a 3.5-month layoff. By the time the games resume, it'll be over 4 months. You go from March 11th to July 30th or 31st. That's 4.5 months of not being on a competitive court. And we've said this on past shows where a lot of these guys did not have access to an actual basket. They play basketball. They did not have hoop access. So it's especially tough on them from a cardio standpoint, from a rhythm standpoint. When you have, you can't say Steph or Clay, but if you have a lights-out shooter like a Danny Green or Fred VanVleet that, make their money off of making threes and they haven't had anything to practice on. I mean, we're going to see some ugly games. I think that's why there's going to be a bit of an exhibition schedule, which should help, but we're in unprecedented times for the league, man. And, coming into tonight's show, I thought we'd have a larger list of players that are not going to Orlando. The tentative deadline was supposed to be the 24th, so Wednesday. I think they're going to extend it. It's looking like July 1st is kind of the unspoken will they or won't they. But a couple names. I mean, Davis Bertans, who's in the running for most improved player. The guy's going to get paid. The Wizards are so far back of the 8-seeded Magic that I don't even know why they're there, I guess, from a competition standpoint. So I didn't like the Wizards' chances to begin with. Now, without a guy like Bertans, with no John Wall there, I mean, it's basically the Bradley Beal and the Rui Hachimura show. So Bertans sitting out, I think it's a wise choice for his long-term future. I wonder what the salary cap's going to look like, though, man. Free agency is going to be ugly with the loss of revenue, losing 3 months of the season and the regular playoffs. And then another interesting name, not COVID-related, but Trevor Ariza, another guy on a fringe team, the Portland Trailblazers, but he's choosing to spend time with his son. Unfortunately, he's going through a bit of a custody battle, and he's staying away to be able to be a dad, which I respect the hell out of.
Yeah.
I like Portland. You don't want to see Portland get into the play-in series for the 8th seed because, when you have Dame Lillard, CJ McCollum, and Melo, watch out. But, if they get Nurkic back as well and Collins, they're going to be ready. But losing a vet like Ariza does suck, but I understand why. I've just been, like I said, I thought the list would be larger. Being,
and I
it's
think
already the night of the 23rd.
And there's also the fact that it's been just these guys from kind of the bottom teams. I mean, Portland is, best case scenario, Portland is probably getting the 8th seed. That's best case. And then they're going to get, steamrolled by the Lakers. I mean, with all due respect to the Portland Trailblazers, sure, if they were getting in as a 4 or 5 seed and they got to play one of these other teams, sure, but you do not want to see the Lakers and the Clippers. I think those are the two best teams in the West. Running into them in the first round, I mean, it's really hard to feel like they're going any further. So I do wonder if we will see more folks drop out. And I think that these guys kind of they didn't have much trouble because Bertans, as you mentioned, he's had 2 torn ACLs. He just had his best season of his career, and he's about to get paid. So, it's hard for him to come back. I wonder if he was in the States, if it would be a little different, but he's going to have to come back to the States, go through the full quarantine procedure, and then if he gets injured or anything happens, the next season, Jason, this is the crazy part, is they're barely delaying next season. They're not delaying it much. There's going to be like a month between when the playoffs end and the new season begins. It's crazy. So I think he probably looked at that and said, no way. And I think with Ariza too, I mean, there's no guarantee he's even going to make the playoffs. So I'm curious to see if we start seeing anyone from the real playoff teams. I mean, imagine if someone from the Lakers, the Bucks, or the Clippers doesn't show up.
We might see that. Avery Bradley, Dwight Howard, Lou Williams, all these guys are in this coalition. But I just want to say this real quick, and it's serious. So I need you to give me the floor, please. How many Bertans of